I have no idea how this film got a 15 rating, but if 15-year-old me was allowed to go and see it the way I did with my parents last night, I think I would have died of embarrassment. Deadpool is as much as an anti-hero story as you could get. So Deadpool is about a guy who is seriously hard done by this weird experimentation station, and he goes on a revenge mission to try and get back at the guy who basically ruined his life. My favourite Marvel movie is Guardians of the Galaxy, so I was very looking forward to seeing another comedic Marvel movie other than Ant-Man, which was not that great. The difference with Deadpool is that this is a comedic Marvel movie for adults. This should not have been a 15, this should have been an 18 rating. I'm going to start off straight away by saying I didn't find this movie as funny as I hoped I would. There were some great laughs in this film, but I felt like some of the jokes just were seriously unfunny and seriously fell flat. I don't know if it's a difference in humour between the countries, but in the London cinema I went to see it in, there were jokes where there were pauses built into the film to wait for laughs, and no one did. And this movie is a prime example of why I hate comedic movie trailers especially, because they give away the best jokes in the trailers, and unfortunately that's what happened with this film too. And then some of the best jokes from the trailers were missing from the movie because of how much they cut out to try and get it to a lower rating, which I'm not sure why they did it, because the stuff they left in would have made it an 18 anyway, in my mind. And this film is honestly full of cliches. I found that sometimes the cliches were a bit too overwhelming. Like, just because you acknowledge that you have cliches does not mean they're not cliches. The opening credits are some of the funniest opening credits I've ever seen. Not just the visuals, but the credits themselves. You'll know what I'm talking about if you've seen it. And the credits is really where you first get the taste of the fourth wall breaking, because this movie is literally full of fourth wall breaks, and not always in the way that I expected them to be. God help them if they ever try and include Deadpool into either the X-Men universe or the MCU, because this film is just full of paradoxes that it will make it an absolute nightmare. I lost track of the amount of references to Marvel actors or Marvel studios or production companies that make the Marvel movies. It's just one giant paradox, but it knows it. That they were going for that. That was their intention. It wasn't accidental. They were meant to do that, which I found it a bit strange, but also were some of the funniest moments in the movie. So I'm kind of between thoughts. I'm not sure if I like it or don't like it. It's a bit strange. One thing I did like, however, which was quite refreshing, was seeing a Marvel movie not jam-packed of characters. They do make jokes about it throughout, so it was a conscious choice. And I like that they weren't just throwing in all these masses of superheroes to try and fit all of them into one movie. And it was nice that all these characters got their time to shine. Even though I wasn't particularly fond of all of them, TJ Miller's character I was just not a fan of at all. I found him flat, boring, awkward, and just not funny at all. And I know the way he was acted was meant to be funny, and it just wasn't. But Deadpool himself is great. Ryan Reynolds, I've always seen as this sort of pretty boy, slightly confused and dazed looking at all times with his mouth slightly open. He just constantly looks at a camera like... And I've never really seen him with much personality in a film, but this is where it comes through. This film also has some great strong females, which I think is also still seriously lacking in the film industry. But this film had 3 strong females and not that many main characters in total, so that was nice to see. To me, the standout of this film was not the comedy at all, because it relies very much on whether your style of comedy is the same as the film style of comedy. Like, if you don't have a taste even remotely for either crude or slapstick humour, then you're not going to find this film funny at all. And honestly, neither of those two things are my favourite sort of comedy, but I can, you know, appreciate them for what it is sometimes. And I did laugh throughout this film, just not as much as I wanted to. But for me, the standout was the action sequences. Considering this film was made on probably half the budget that something like The Avengers is made on, they made these scenes look pretty damn cool. I love the slow motion shots and the panning camera around every single action. Sometimes it was just really a spectacle to see. Also, the use of soundtrack throughout these scenes, the way they kind of switch between songs as the action switches places. I mean, it's nothing that hasn't been done before, but I felt like it was used to particularly good effect in this film. I mean, I'm guessing this film is very Deadpool, and that's what you want from a Deadpool film. You want the Deadpool humour, but I don't know, I felt like some of the jokes were really kind of old, to be expected. One of the jokes in the trailers, the have I left the stove on joke. How many times have you heard that joke in a film? And it's just to the point where it's not funny anymore. No matter who's saying it, it's just not funny. But don't get me wrong, I did enjoy this film a lot. I love the action sequences, I love the story. It's very rare that people enjoy origin stories anymore, but this was an exception. Overall, I would give this film maybe a 7 out of 10. Maybe a 7.5. I feel like a 7 might be a bit too low because of just how much I enjoyed it despite the humour. But I think an 8 is a bit too high. So let's go with 7.5 out of 10. So yeah, far from being my favourite superhero movie, I liked it, but it's nowhere near the top spot. Like, sorry. Guardians will always take the top spot for me as far as I'm concerned. So thank you for watching my review of Deadpool. I know I'm not as praising as most other people probably are. Maybe it's because I don't have much knowledge about who Deadpool actually is. Like, I haven't read any of the comics, I haven't seen any material with him in it before. But I feel like I'm just as valid in my opinions. I don't think films can rely on the fact that people know the story, people know the characters, or people know the comics. It's like if you're translating a book into a film, you can't expect people to have read the book and then not give any of the exposition or information as regards to the lore or the backstory. You need to make it so that you assume that no one's read the book, and you need to explain it just as well. The fact that the comedy didn't transcend to me without knowledge of Deadpool prior, I don't think it should matter. There were some moments where I was in hysterics, but they didn't last very long. And then there were others that I just sat there kind of thinking, alright, that really didn't work. But I did enjoy this film. I really enjoyed the action sequences. I really enjoyed the goriness of this film. I feel like it could have been even more gory. I felt like most of the rating was used up on the crude sexual scenes, which, I don't know, I'm not a fan of in movies anyway. I wish that more of that R rating was used up on the headshots and the blood rather than the sex scenes. But overall, I enjoyed this movie. 7.5 out of 10 is a pretty good rating, considering I didn't find it that funny. Or not as funny as most people probably wanted to or expected to. I'm looking forward to the sequel. I'm looking forward to see what they do with Deadpool in terms of the other Marvel movies. We can only see where it goes, really. You can like and subscribe and comment if you'd like. You don't have to. You can if you want. I'm going to be doing as many movies as I can over the next few weeks. I've got some lined up. As many as I can get to, so I'll see you in those. Bye!